I'd like to call the April 1st, 2024 meeting of the City Council for the City of Lake City to order. If everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invitation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather as a council and a community to conduct the business of our city. We ask for your guidance, that what we do is pleasing in your eye for the betterment of Lake City. We ask for you to look after our troops, our first responders, and our citizens. And in your name we pray. Amen. Ms. Hockey, call the roll.
Mr. Jernigan?
Present.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Ms. Young? Mr. Carter?
Present.
Mayor Witt?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Chief Butler?
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened its public meeting since 1968. The city code has prohibited any person from making personal, pertinent, or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the city council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There's only one approved manner of addressing the city council, that's to be recognized and speak from the podium. As a reminder, persons do not openly carry a handgun, carry a concealed weapon, or firearm while the governing body is meeting. Failure to abide by these rules is decorum will result in removal from the meeting. Okay, the first item is approval of the agenda.
So approved, Mayor. Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have several proclamations. Okay, the first one is Child Abuse Prevention Month, whereas Lake City's future prosperity depends on nurturing the healthy development of children currently residing in Lake City, and whereas the abuse and neglect of children can cause severe, costly, and lifelong problems, including physical and mental health problems, school failure, and criminal behavior which affect all of society. Whereas research shows that parents and caregivers who have social networks and know how to seek help in times of trouble are more resilient and better able to provide safe environments and nurturing experiences for their children. Whereas individuals and businesses, schools, faith-based and community organizations must make children our top priority. Take action to support the physical, social, and emotional and educational development and competency of all children. And whereas the children deserve the opportunity to grow and thrive in a healthy environment, free from threats of violence and harm. And whereas the month of April, public and private sector agencies, child care professionals, child advocates, and residents will be increasing the public awareness of child abuse and neglect. Now therefore, Mayor Stephen M. Witt of the City of Lake City do hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the City of Lake City, and in so doing, urge all citizens to join me in observing this month and appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities.
Good evening. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Lake City Council members, and Lake City officials who are in presence as well and here unrepresented. My name is Jenny McGovern, and this is my colleague, Pasha Coonrad. We're here to represent Partnership for Strong Families. Partnership for Strong Families is the lead child welfare agency serving children who've experienced abuse or neglect and are now part of the formal child welfare system throughout 13 counties and circuits 3 and 8. We also work in prevention of abuse and neglect through our network of family resource centers. In February alone, the Department of Children and Families investigated 40 alleged cases of abuse and neglect in Columbia County alone. Furthermore, 177 youth are in out-of-home foster care, with an additional 72 receiving in-home services. We also served more than 3,600 patrons in 2023 at our Columbia County through our North Star Family Resource Centers. Nurturing and helping these children heal, as well as strengthening local families to prevent child abuse and neglect, is a community collective effort. By no means are we the only ones doing this great work. We'd also like to recognize some of our partners at the Guardian Ad Litem, the University of Florida Healthy Families Program, and so many others who work with children and families to prevent abuse and neglect. Thank you again for this opportunity and for recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. We all must be involved in making sure children have happy, healthy, and safe childhoods. So thank you. Maybe would I have you take a photo of us?
Sorry. I'll be quick.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. Okay, this next one is Water Conservation Month, April 2024. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida Water Management Districts and the city of Lake City utilities are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation. And whereas the city of Lake City and the state of Florida have designated April typically a dry month when water demands are most acute. Florida's Water Conservation Month to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. Whereas the city of Lake City has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events, whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water. Whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help saving water, thus promote a healthy economy and community. Therefore, I, Stephen M. Witt, Mayor of the City of Lake City, to hereby proclaim April as Water Conservation Month and urge each citizen and business to help protect our precious resource by practicing water-saving measures and becoming more aware of the need to save water. Mike, will you come up?
Thank you, Mike.
You want to say something? Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for backing us with this. I'd also like citizens of the city to know that April is our big push for water conservation. At the end of the meeting, there will be water conservation kits out there. You can grab one on the way out. And we also do a big push for plant tours this month. So if anybody would like to do a plant tour, contact the water plant. We'll show you how the water is processed and how we make it safe for you to drink. Thank you.
Okay, next is Procurement Month, March 2024, where the public procurement organizations are committed to the higher ideals of honor and integrity and to merit respect and confidence of their government agencies as well as the public when they serve in ensuring the prudent and taxpayer dollars. Whereas public procurement is diligently committed to the pursuit of efficiencies and effectiveness in the delivery of goods and services, executing and implementing contracts, developing forecasts and procurement strategies, and cultivating working relationships with suppliers and other departments within the organization. Whereas the city of Lake City provides an environment that is open for business partnerships where all organizations are afforded an equal opportunity to compete for business within the city. Whereas the city of Lake City supports and practices the public procurement guiding principles of accountability, ethics, impartiality, professionalism, service, and transparency as fundamental tenets of public procurement profession, whereas the National Institute of Government Purchasing as proclaimed this month to mark as procurement month to further expand the awareness of the procurement professionals' role to governing officials, the public, business, and corporate. Now therefore, I, Stephen M. Witt, of the city of Lake City, proclaim the month of March 2024 as procurement month in the city of Lake City, and urge all citizens to join the city council in recognizing the role of procurement and contract administration profession within business, industry, and government. Brenda, will you come up? Public comments, I don't have Mr. Bowden.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Bowden, 1156 Northeast Bascom Lodge Drive. Mr. Mayor, I did not attend the last meeting. I watched it on YouTube, and you repeated again in that this probably said failure to abide by the rules of the quorum will result in removal from the meeting. I would hope, Mr. Mayor, that there's some definitions in the minds of you as the chair of what a violation is. I think that there needs to be some standards in terms of what is a violation of the court. Mr. Mayor, you listening?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to be sure you listen. I'm serious about this. You know, before we start removing people from the meeting because of their free speech, there should be some criteria of what is considered slanderous, what is considered boisterous, and what is considered all other terms we use. Mr. Mayor, I remind you and the city council members that freedom of speech is not absolute, but it's very important. It's more important than a person feeling being hurt. But for freedom of speech, Mr. Mayor, we wouldn't have single district voting in this community. But for freedom of speech, we would have a black member on the city council, on the school board, because people's speech took place before it was a lawsuit. And when you start attacking speech, Mr. Mayor and council, you attack the very bedrock of human rights and civil rights. Any country that takes away your speech, that's the first thing. The second thing is taking away your press. So I'm encouraging you all, as you be concerned about how you're being talked to, don't stop me from being able to have my freedom of speech. And name calling is one thing, but if I as a city council, and I'm gonna say this clearly, if I want to say a person lied, that's not a violation of shit. That's not name calling. And I'm concerned that the council is starting to weaponize their position to suppress speech. And I'm concerned about that, man, because our activists, our value speech, you know, I stood before city council and county commission and school board. I talked on behalf of other people. Very seldom spoke on behalf of myself. But for my speech, there's some things that never would happen in this community. But for the speech of others in this community, there's some things that never would happen in this community. So as you enforce those rules, I want to be sure that the chair enforcing the rules and not individuals who got hurt feelings. Because hurt feelings does not suppress our First Amendment right. So I want to say that. The other thing, Mr. Mayor, is that item on the consent agenda, I would ask that if you don't mind, you would take the issue concerning the Camp Street off the consent agenda. I want to speak to that issue.
Okay.
This is when we're trying to get a grant. I want to talk about the possibilities of other ways of funding that. And not being too.
Okay, which one did you want to take off the consent agenda?
The one that deals with the Camp Street. What's that number, Arthur? It's a resolution.
Number 7.
Yeah, okay, number 7, okay.
Yeah, but I want to speak to it
Sure.
when it comes up.
Okay. That's all I had signed up. Next is the consent agenda. We will remove item 7. Take it up separately. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Are we approving the consent agenda as amended, or are we approving the consent agenda?
Move to approve as amended.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, we'll take up item 7, which is City Council Resolution number 2024-034. Mr. Mark, would you read that by title?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, you have before you resolution number 2024-034, a resolution of the City of Lake City, Florida, recognizing a need for the resurfacing of Camp Street, and the City of Lake City recognizing a need for financial assistance through grant funding to complete the resurfacing of Camp Street in the City of Lake City, authorizing the city to apply for that certain grant pursuant to the Small County Outreach Program for Rural Areas of Opportunities, and furtherance of resurfacing of Camp Street in the city, making certain findings of fact in support of the city, applying for said grant, recognizing the authority of the mayor to execute such documents, directing the mayor to execute said documents, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Okay. Ms. Bowden, you want to speak now?
Mr. Mayor, let me say from the beginning, I'm not opposed to the resurfacing of Camp Street. I think any improvements that we can do in our community. I am concerned, however, that there was a meeting in the past where this came up, and I really thought that the grant had already been applied for. I didn't realize that the grant had not been applied for. Having said that, tonight we're going to be talking about approving $1.5 million from the ARPA fund for a ladder fire truck. I've been told that there's a possibility that infrastructure can be funded out of that same pot of money. And so what I'm suggesting to the city council, at the last meeting I heard on YouTube that it's 2 years out, even if we're fortunate enough to get the grant, and that's no guarantee. You're talking about 2 years from now. So if there's money available and you got to spend that money quickly, in not a long period of time, it seems to me it's less than $1 million. I think it's $600,000+. I thought it was going to cost more than that because I thought it would be a lot of infrastructure, underground stuff. So it just seems to me, Mayor, that if the council was having some urgency for improving our community, there's an opportunity to use some money that's already available and not do the grant. Because you're talking about 2 years of street that need improvement in the community. I don't live on the street, but I'm just suggesting to the city council that there's another means of funding this without going through the grant that's going to be 2 years out in the making at the very minimum. And there's no guarantee. You know, there's no guarantee that every grant you apply for you get, but I suspect that most grants you apply for you don't get. So I guess what I'm suggesting to the city council that you at least temporarily look to see if there's any other ways to fund. Unless there's some urgency to pass this tonight and to fund it through by applying for a grant, go back and or either the staff can say can ARPA money be used, and I think it can be used for that purpose. Then there's going to be the $2 or $3 million left in that pot. Then use that money to do this street with and get it done right away, rather than applying for a grant that you may or may not get, and it may be 2 years in the making before you even get that done. So that's my opposition, not to the work itself, because it needs to be done, but the process. It seems to me that there's money available, you can use it for that, and I think it's as important to the people who live on Camp Street, which I don't, as it is for any other expenditure from the ARPA money. So I would suggest to the city council that you delay pass this resolution and give the staff some time to do some research to see if there's another means to fund that within your own budget. I suspect that it is. If it's not, then so be it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Johnson, did you want to comment on any of that?
Well, I can say that when we go to doing road projects in the past, there's always a process. We need to check what's under the road first. Even if we did move money to go repave Camp Street, it's not ready to be paved right now. You need to look at the infrastructure under the road. That is what we got. Will be coming up in the next budget year. We need to look and might need to do some slip lining in that area. So, I mean, it's not the funds being ready, the road has to be ready. We have to go through the process of getting these roads done correctly. There's no point in laying down a new road and then having to go cut the road up to fix the infrastructure underneath.
And by approving this resolution,
It gives us time to go in there and fix and address all the utility issues that might be in that area. But that's my suggestion. It says the council's thoughts on how they want to go about funding this project.
All right, is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2024-034?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make that motion on 2024-034 at this time.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion by council? Ms. Sykes, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Mayor Webb?
Yes. Okay, next we have presentation, City Council Resolution number 2024-025. Mr. Mark, would you read that by title?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the council, you have before you resolution number 2024-025, a resolution of the City of Lake City, Florida, changing the name of that certain segment of Northeast Railroad Street situated between North Marion Avenue and Northeast Davis Avenue, designating the name of said segment henceforth to Northeast Presley Lane within the City of Lake City, Florida, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Should the council wish to adopt this resolution, the appropriate motion would be to adopt resolution number 2024-025 as read by title only.
Okay, I have Odell Anderson Lenore signed up to speak on this.
Good evening. My name is Odell Anderson Lenore. I live on 130 Northeast Manor Court here in Lake City. I was born and raised here in Lake City. I have attended Olive Missionary Baptist Church for over 60 years. So Railroad Street has a significance for me. One of the significance, Railroad Street has a history most of you don't know about. It would be the Black Wall Street of Columbia County. I can tell you many things, many businesses owned by Black in that area with the train station across the street. We had doctors, pharmacists, diners, barbershops, shoe shine, funeral homes, stores, all kind of things that were owned by Black businesses. Now, I want to make this straight right here. I have nothing against the Presley family, but I do have reservation about that street being named. There are some reasons. Can you tell me what are the requirements for having a street name change? If everybody want to come up here and have their name put on the street, what are we gonna do? Because it has to be fair. The other thing is Mr. Presley already has a street named, the Presleys have a street named after them. It's the street that they live on, even though it's in the county. I would like to know if the government is gonna do anything extra for it, or these are some of the things that we as the community need to do for it. Our church owned property parcels on that street. That street, like I said, has a rich history. I don't know why it wants to be changed, but when I heard about it, and we talk about it during Black History Month, the reason why the name itself doesn't destroy anything. It's part of our community. And to have just 4 blocks just named Presley Lane, whereas the other end of it is not. I was born and raised 3 blocks from that street. Even my father had a business on that street. So I am totally against, I would like to know those reasoning, why, what are the criteria? If everyone wants to name a street after themselves, what are we gonna do about it? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
And
you.
the rest of it.
Okay. Is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2024-025?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to speak on that as well.
I oppose changing the name of Railroad Street. Again, I don't know a lot about Railroad Street, but I do know that it was a lot went on Railroad Street. And for us to change the name to the Presleys, it's not doing the Presleys any justice. Mr. and Mrs. Presley was educators. Changing the name of Railroad Street, to my opinion, does them no justice at all. So again, I oppose changing the name of Railroad Street to the Presleys. And again, it's nothing personal against the Presleys, nothing, but the gesture is good. But that street does not match the Presleys, in my opinion.
All right, now I'll ask again, is there a motion as to City Council Resolution 2024-025?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion to approve resolution 2024-025 for comments, please.
I'll second it. Okay, comments, council?
Mr. Mayor, on this particular street, just coincidentally, I'm old enough to know about some of the good and the bad that went down on Railroad Street. Matter of fact, my aunt, my Aunt Ruberdine, she ran a bar up there, and my daddy, quite often visited that bar. And I could see him coming down the railroad track, taking 3 steps forward and 2 steps backwards from that bar down there. So I would like to see something positive come out of Railroad Street, not just the name of the Presleys on part of it. If we can't give the whole street name, I don't know why we're doing half of it. So I'm not in favor of doing half, but I am in favor of doing the whole street. So if I can't see where we can get the whole street, I will not go along with naming just part of it. And again, it is I think I had a long talk with the Presleys about this, and I just think that it would definitely do them some justice to get the whole street, but just part of it, I don't think it'll do them any justice.
I've had quite a few calls concerning this, and most people, I haven't had any calls of those who are for this. All oppose, all of the calls that I've gotten oppose it, with the majority saying that the Presleys are educators and they have no connections to Railroad Street.
Also, Mayor, if I may, I want to ask Mr. Johnson, how did we reach the conclusion of having this street renamed, half of the street renamed instead of the whole street?
So actually, you know that Railroad Street sits on 2 ends. It's divided by Marion Street, so you're talking about 2 different streets. The process into getting a road name change, if it's not for legality problems, the property owners that it affects would have to sign a petition and bring them in. The reason this came to y'all is because y'all do own property on Railroad Street. If we didn't have property on Railroad Street and we received the petitions from all the owners, our ordinance states that the city manager can approve it. So with us being a property owner on there, I just thought it would be in the recommendation for the council to make that call whether they want to sign it as a petition. Now, as far as the other end of Railroad Street, you will have to go down there and talk to the property owners as well, but it is 2 different streets. So that's why it's only a portion of it. It's not because any other reason, it's just 2 different streets.
Wait, I want to add something. If we're going to change the name of Railroad Street, I would say it would be changed to Pete's Barbecue of Mr. P. That's the only building that's still standing on Railroad Street. So if we're going to change the name, change it to Mr. P or Pete's Barbecue, but change it to the Presley. Again, Presley's, Mr. and Mrs. Presley were educators.
Mayor, and I believe part of Ms. Anderson's, Ms. Odell, part of her question, I believe, was answered. She wants to know what's the process? How do you get a street name change? Can you elaborate on that?
So to get the process is you got to get the buy-in from all the property owners because they will be affected by it. As far as address change, insurance, and other items like that. So the property owners can sign petitions and bring them to us to consider for road changes. You have to have the buy-in from all properties that are affected by the road name change.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
if I can ask for clarification. Did the property owners already sign this petition and bring it forward and we're just the last property owner?
That is correct.
So we're just one of multiple property owners?
Yes, we did not choose the name, the property owners chose the name.
Now, there was one concern that I received a call on, which I can relate to being a member of a Baptist church for many years, and the ordinances of the Baptists. You have to bring it before the body, and I mean, I don't know if that was done for the church. It wasn't brought before the body, so how many signatures did we get on the church?
I think it was only one, I can't remember.
Anything else?
That one was the pastor.
I'm not sure who the pastor is of that church.
Oh, Mayor. She's a member of that church.
I'm a member of that church. Can I say something?
Sure.
We also have constitution and bylaws. Anything that deals with the property of the church, the trustees sign all legal documents. It was not brought before the church, the total church, to discuss. And so if a member has signed it, it's on their behalf, not the church behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else, council? Ms. House, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
No.
Ms. Young?
No.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Okay. So it's 3-2. All right. I want to ask Ms. Presley if she'll come up. I want to present you, well, first there's the sign. It'll go up there. And I also want to do this for you and Mr. Presley.
Wow. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
It's the key to the city.
Oh, isn't that so precious? Thank you so much.
You got it on that side, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Wanna turn around, but yeah. No, you're fine, you know how to sign. Yeah, you're perfectly fine. So you hold it up to the end, yeah, perfect. That's ready?
Thank you. Oh, yes, ma'am. Here's a, we need to turn around and,
Oh,
okay. And I'm gonna give you the key, and I'm gonna lay this here, and I'm gonna let you have the floor for it.
thank you. You know, there's so much love in this room, so much love. I don't need the microphone, can you hear me?
People at
And I'm
home.
glad we all here together. And you know, whenever there's an issue, you're supposed to discuss it. I learned so much in a few seconds. I learned a lot, and I appreciate you.
Miss Presley.
Yes.
I've been saying it with Danny Hill.
Our people at home won't be able to hear you.
What do you want me to
Yeah, the people watching you at home won't be able to hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you'll sit right here, that would be great. Okay.
Okay, let me start over. It's so much love in this room. And I really appreciate the fact that you have given me an opportunity to speak. I really admire all of you who made those observations because I learned from you. I really learned from you. And I had already done my homework about how a street can be named and all of that. And some of you did your homework and some of you did not. But it's not what is done, it's how it is done. And I appreciate any consideration that you give to the Presley family. But you know something? That's a motivational factor to make me want to do that much more. And I will do more, more, more. And thank you. Honorable Stephen Witt, I have something for you and all of your wonderful dignitaries. So my daughter's going to give it to you.
Okay, I'm gonna walk around here.
And thank you, Mayor Witt, for being you, because guess what? No one else qualifies. And Councilman, you all are great. You are elected officials, and I think you've done an excellent job. This is from us to you for being very special.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to
Yes, ma'am, you have
item 9. City manager hiring process update. We're scheduled now for the week of April 24th, 25th, and 26th. We have 2 candidates left. One of them found a job. Mr. Bowden wanted to speak on this. Mr. Bowden?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have several observations. I do think that we'll be doing a disservice to the citizens of this community if we have an opportunity to interview more than 2. I think there was a suggestion last time we did all 6 or 5, and the council agreed to do 3. Now we're down to 2. The difference between the 3 and the number 4 probably was just 1 point. I just of the opinion that if we can get that number 4 person, to invite him or her, whoever it was, to be a applicant to interested in the job, not change the date. The date is set. You got April 4th, 24th, whatever it is. But at least I think that the citizens deserve an opportunity to get more input if there's an opportunity to get that. And if there's more people out there that's interested that met that minimum requirement that the HR person put in front of us, then it makes sense to me that what you would do. But what we're dealing with now is 2 applicants. The chief is one, and another person from Central Florida, or wherever he's from. It just seems to me that we should expand it if possible, without moving the date any further along. Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry Mr. Jernigan left because I want to speak to another process here that's in the same agenda package. There's the tour that he's proposing to do. I take strong exception to that. I know it may be legally proper to do it, but I don't think it's appropriate for a member of the city council to provide a tour by himself. I think it gives him unfair access to the persons running for the office. And this person, Mr. Jernigan, and I hate to believe he's not here because I don't like talking about people when he's not here, but he left, that he said in the last meeting that 3 days was too long. Then he, in the same breath, said we can do 10 days. Then I found out later that he wanted to spend a whole day, 7.5 hours by himself, giving a tour. I think the tour, if there's going to be a tour, it should involve more than Mr. Jernigan. It should involve members from both of the Chamber of Commerce, it should involve members from the building community, from the realtor community, from the church community, and private citizens. I would suggest, Mr. Mayor, that I should be involved with it. I would like to ride along for the tour, but I'm concerned with where he might take the person. Would it be a holistic tour? Would he just pick and choose where he's going to take it? I would want to know what citizens, what organizations, what businesses he's going to go to. Is it going to be all the businesses? Is it going to be all sides of town? You know, I think it's problematic. And then for Mr. Jernigan to say, and he's not here, that's his business, for him to say that he's not going to be involved with an individual interview, I think that is probably one of the most politically naive things I've heard anybody say, and it's certainly politically immature. There's no way in the world that a councilman can glean from a city council applicant in a city council interview when you have an opportunity, Mr. Mayor, to do a 1 hour with them. So I would suggest to this city council that if there's going to be a tour, that the tour involved more than just Mr. Jenkins, and I would volunteer to be one of those persons who would ride along, and I would suggest that you reach out to the community. Like I said, get both chambers, members from the business community, members from the nonprofit community, all of that, because him giving a tour, that's 7.5 hours that Mr. Jenkins would be in a car, in a van, in an SUV with 2 or 3 candidates. So that means he spent more time with the candidates than you all are going to spend. So I think that's unfair. You know, it may be legal and it may even be appropriate. It may be proper, but I don't think it's appropriate at all, because given what he said about the time he thought we should interview, but he want to do 7.5 hours himself taking somebody around. And I just think it shouldn't be him alone. There should be other people involved in that tour. And the public should know exactly where we're going. Mr. Mayor, keep in mind, on that day, you're going to be spending taxpayers' money. The man that come from out of town, that's the day that, if it wasn't having a tour, there would be no public expenditure on that particular day. Then the last process, if I remember correctly, those people who came for the interview, they drove themselves around and went to different places. So I just can't see the need for Mr. Jenkins doing the tour. In fact, I would suggest that the chief of police probably give Mr. Jenkins a tour. He probably know more about the city than Councilman Jenkins. So that's my view on that. I just think that's inappropriate. And I would suggest to you all that if you can get another person, that number 4 person, if he is still interested in the job, then I would extend the invitation for him to come. If he said no, then so be it. But I just think that interviewing 2 people is doing a disservice to the citizens of this community.
Fine. Okay, Ms. Sykes has passed out the schedule that the staff created. Does anybody have any comments, want to change anything? Five recommended, or y'all ready to go to the 24th, 5th, and 6th?
If I may, Mayor. I would like to, and I was that person who asked that we interview 5 instead of 3. And for this reason that we face now, end up with 2 candidates. So I do agree that we should reach out to the next best candidate, if for lack of better words, to interview, that we will have the 3 candidates.
Is that a motion?
I'll make the motion that we reach out to the next candidate
Okay.
to add to the interview list.
So,
Okay. Mr. Jackson made it back.
No, he's gone. He's gone.
Okay. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other?
just to be clear, the motion was to invite number 4, actually, but not to change the timeline.
Right.
I'm not fundamentally opposed to inviting them, but I am opposed to changing any timeline.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, somebody else? Ms. Sykes, will call the roll?
Mayor, who seconded those? Was it Mr. Carter, Mr. Hill? Who seconded the motion? Okay. So we're going to keep the same timeline?
Yeah.
I'm just going to build that person in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just go to 12 o'clock. I'll get with it.
Okay, I can work on that, okay. And we're leaving the day one the same?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Question, if I may, can we say who that number 4 is? Can we
I
announce?
don't have that.
You don't have it?
Well, let me look at the minutes, give me just 1 second. I think we have our last one. Real hard. If we're confident it was real hard, I don't have it in front of me, but if we're confident it was real hard, I could put his name in the minutes.
I believe it.
Okay.
Not certain.
All right, in the instance that Mr. Brillhart is no longer available, is the motion going to, do you want me to move to the number 5 candidate, or are we stopping at, if he's not available, are we stopping there?
I think we stopped at 4. That's we've been this far.
Okay. All right, Ms. Jones?
I think we should move to the next, after 3 candidates.
You're gonna add that to your motion?
Yes, sir. Okay, I have to restate the motion.
I know, you want me, if
And
number 4
please add,
candidate is
right.
not available, then
Right.
just go on to the number 5.
Hill, you, okay, Mr. Hill seconds, okay?
All right, so Ms. Young,
Yes.
okay, Mr. Hill,
Yes.
okay, Mr. Jernigan, and Mr. Carter.
Yeah.
Mayor Witt.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed.
Okay, item
Mr. Mayor, I
10,
raised this about the tour, you already addressed the tour thing.
They did address that. They're going to leave that as is. Yes.
alright, item 10, street lighting, I've talked to Mr. Johnson about that. Mr. Johnson, you want to kind of update us where we're?
Yes, Mayor, last meeting when the street lighting came up for the highway maintenance contract, we were gonna give an update. I think the first thing we need to do is assess the needs, if it's more or if it's cleaning up around the lights, if it's just what's the problem is. I think we need to assess the problem before we move forward with anything.
And Florida might may have some, funds or something to help out with it.
Oh, definitely. Staff is already currently looking for grant opportunities, whether it's energy efficient, whether it's just improving the current lighting. And like I said, we get an assessment done and see if the need is more lighting, but I think we need to first find out what the need is.
Is this lighting you talking about in blighted areas as well?
Yes.
Any area that the lighting is needed, we don't have a particular area, it's just gonna be throughout the city. I said we do it district by district or do it all at one time, but I mean, I know certain areas, but I do not know all of the areas that the need is at.
Well, I have a couple of, at least a few areas in my district as well.
Okay.
Ms. Warren, you want to speak?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you for recognizing me, Sylvester Warren. Mayor, let's be clear. I don't know whether people are blind or y'all were elected in districts that y'all don't know what's going on in it. But everybody know where the blighted areas are. Everybody know where the lights are needed at. They're needed in the black community. That's where the crime is at. That's where the low visibility is at. That's District 12 and that's District 10. So I would just prefer that we just cut through the BS and let's just talk about it. There's no need of doing no assessment. The assessment has been done. The crime proves it. You ride through the neighborhood. Mayor.
I'm listening to you, but I've got to tell you what I've done. I've heard every word you said. It's in the black areas, it's the blighted area.
Well, Mayor, when I talk very professionally, if you were standing in front of, you are an attorney, if you were in front of a judge, you wouldn't do that. That is not ethics. That is not proper ethics. Am I right or wrong?
They do it to me every day.
Is that not proper ethics?
Now,
Right.
okay, go ahead.
So, Mr. Mayor, we know what the blighted areas are. I don't think it needs to be an assessment. I think we need to go, find out how much it costs, where the lights need to go, and get them done. So that we can move crime out of those areas where there's lights and there's cameras. I don't know whether or not any of y'all have been a part of the criminal lifestyle, but I have. Where there's lights and there's cameras, ain't nobody trying to be there. They commit crime. And so those areas need not to be assessed. Those areas need to have something done about them. We've been talking about this for years now, Mayor, about getting street lights in these areas, along with a whole bunch of other stuff that never gets done. Cameras at Animatics Park. We can just go on and on and on that every time it gets to the black community, right? Either we ran out of funding, y'all changed your mind about the votes, or we gotta come up with an assessment. It's almost like every year they come up with this assessment about why black people don't have any wealth. Well, guess what? There's no access to capital. So stop doing the study and give up the money. There's no need of doing the study. Everybody know what the study says. Everybody know what the study is. Everybody know why there's a wealth gap. So I would say stop wasting the people's tax dollars, stop wasting the people's time, and let them get a ROI on their tax dollars, which would be to invest back in the lights. I'm quite sure cops would appreciate it since y'all think so much of the blue. I bet you they would love to be in a more lit area when they come over in the black community, where they seem to be most aggressive and afraid. That way they can clearly see that there's nothing in our hands, there's nothing in our pockets, everything is lit up. I think it's a win-win. So what's the need for the assessment? That's the question I want to know.
We're willing to keep discussing it, we'll get it done. Okay, Mr. Bowden?
I'd like to speak better. I thought I was speaking 19.
Huh?
I got that down?
Yes, sir.
What number?
10?
I meant 19, man.
Okay, well, I've got one for you on 19 too, so. This is on the original one you mentioned. You're good? Okay. All right. I don't think there's any action. All right, next is new business, we're pleased to have judicial proceeding preliminary matter, and I'm gonna turn it over to our attorney, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, Mr. Mayor and council members, you have before you two matters that must be considered and voted on by the council in a quasi-judicial manner. Both of these are based on applications from David Winsberg. The first ordinance is 2024-2260, which is a comprehensive plan amendment changing the future land use map. And then the second ordinance is ordinance number 2024-2263, which is the associated rezoning of the same parcel, assuming the future land use map ordinance amendment is adopted. The purpose of the following procedure is to ensure that an applicant provides a complete presentation of their request to the City Council prior to any testimony being presented by staff, so the applicant receives a full and fair hearing on their application. Any decision by the council is based on the evidence presented. All public testimony will be taken under oath, and everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. Additionally, all documents and exhibits will be entered into evidence. The giving of opinion testimony is limited to experts, and closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record. To accomplish this, the city, the applicant, the city council, and other interested parties will be recognized in the following order. First, the city staff will provide a summary or overview of the application, then the applicant would present its case. City staff would then present its actual evidence into the record. If we have any party interveners, and I don't have any indication that we've got any party interveners, but if we did, they would then present their case. We would then hear from opponents to the application, followed by cross-examination of any witnesses. We would hear from opponents to the application, then we would hear from those who support the application. Once they've spoken, then the applicant would cross-examine any witnesses. And if we had a party intervener, then they would perform their cross-examination, and then the city would do the same and be able to cross-examine any witnesses and have them respond to any testimony presented. After this, if the mayor deemed it necessary and appropriate to ensure fairness and due process, the mayor could choose to allow participants to respond to any testimony provided by others during the hearing. Then at this point, once all the evidence is of record, all the testimony's been offered, all of the cross-examination has occurred, then city council members through the mayor could ask any questions of any of the meeting participants, meaning the staff, the applicant, or anyone else that's offered testimony. After the city council has asked questions, the applicant, followed by city staff, can make any final statements or arguments related to the evidence of record. At that point, I will advise the council as to applicable law and factual findings that must be made to approve or deny the application. Council can deliberate on the information provided and then vote to approve with conditions, or deny the application. All persons have the right through the mayor to ask questions of staff or other speakers, to seek clarification of comments made by staff or other speakers, and respond to comments or presentations. All people presenting written materials to the council for consideration must ensure a copy of those materials is provided to the clerk for inclusion in the council's record of proceedings and official minutes. While the council welcomes comments from all persons with an interest in this proceeding, Florida law requires the council's decision in quasi-judicial actions to be supported by competent and substantial evidence presented during the hearing. Competent and substantial evidence is evidence that a reasonable mind would accept as adequate to support a conclusion. There must be a factual basis in the record to support opinion testimony from both expert and non-expert witnesses. People presenting testimony may support their testimony by relying on factual information provided by city staff, the applicant, or other factual information in the city's reports. At this time, I need to inquire of each council member individually if they've received any ex parte communications involving any of these matters, and if so, to disclose them. Councilwoman Young, have you had any ex parte communications on these matters? Mr. Carter?
No.
Mr. Witt?
No.
And Mr. Hill?
No.
Thank you. At this time, if each person who's going to offer testimony or speak to these two applications could stand and raise your right hand and take an oath. That would be the applicant, city staff, and then if anyone else is going to offer any testimony on these. You can just raise your right hand where you're standing. Do each of you swear to, if you could stand, do each of you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, let the record reflect that each of the two individuals reflected that they would tell the truth in their testimony. Now, council members, you have before you proposed ordinance 2024-2260, which states an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the future land use map of the City of Lake City Comprehensive Plan as amended, relating to an amendment of 50 acres or less of land pursuant to an application CPA 23-06 by the property owner of said acreage under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3161 through 163.3248 Florida statutes as amended, providing for changing the future land use classification from residential medium density or less than or equal to 8 dwelling units per acre to residential high density or less than or equal to 20 dwelling units per acre. Certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. At this time, it would be appropriate for Mr. Young to just provide a brief introduction and summary of the proposed ordinance 2024-2260.
Dave Young with Growth Management. The project summary is a rezoning and comprehensive plan amendment. Future land use is residential medium. Proposed future land use is residential high. The zoning designation now is residential single family 3 and residential multifamily 1. The proposed zoning is going to be residential multifamily 2. The proposed use of this property is family housing. The land is conductive for use per the LDR section 4.9.2.2. This parcel is not contiguous with other parcels that are residential multifamily 2 zoning district and is not in close proximity. And that's the summary.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Mr. Young, I have a question. Mr. Young, where is this located, this property located?
Oh, I'm sorry. This property is located on Northwest Early Street. It's the north and south side, and it's just west of Northwest Cray Way.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure.
We would now hear a presentation from the applicant, Mr. Winsberg.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on giving any presentation. I guess I didn't expect this, but I will answer any questions you have about the proposed rezoning of my property.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that's a party intervener that would want to support or object to this particular application? Seeing none, is there any member of the public? Do you want to oppose as a party intervener, or do you want to just speak in opposition? Okay, then it would be appropriate now for you to speak in opposition.
Do I need to be sworn in?
You would, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Warren, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you.
So do I address you or do I address the council since?
You address the council.
Okay, council, I don't know how up to snuff y'all are about this proposed change in density. I'm a developer. I'm disappointed that Mr. Hill did not know exactly where Early Street is. Early Street is directly behind the Lake City Villas. And it is across the street from quite a few people that we know. Here's the problem that I have with, I don't have no problem with development. I develop all the time. But when you start changing density, you better know what you're doing. You're talking about changing one acre from 8 dwellings to 1 acre for 20 dwellings, you're getting ready to create you a cedar park right behind the village. That's number one, right? And then you're gonna have the crime to go right along with it. Number two, I'm gonna tell you what you're getting ready to create. First of all, you cannot put a proposed land development change, one, in an area that's not contiguous, because you're creating an island. Because if y'all do that for him today, I'm gonna take all my property and I'm gonna commercialize it. If you do it, you're gonna set a precedence. I'm gonna have all my stuff commercial. Because you said you can't do it. You're creating an island. That's number two. Number three is, it is too close to a wetland. You can't be within 35 feet of a wetland to even do this type of development. Y'all don't even have Leroy Marshall here so that y'all can have people from Swanee Water River Management to even let y'all know what's going on. You can't do this. You cannot even vote for this. If you vote for this, you're asking for the citizens to sue you, and you're asking to put this developer in a bad predicament by even having him to go through the process, knowing that it can't be done. Mr. Young just told y'all that it is not even contiguous. Nothing. It is not cool to put 20 units on 1 acre in the black community, in no community. This ain't the country. This is like uptown. This is like the inner city. What are you doing? You sardine packing.
Are there any other party interveners that wish to speak to the matter? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I may. Barbara Mizell Perry.
If you can raise your right hand and be sworn, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you.
I agree with Mr. Warren. When you start putting people in congested areas, you know there's gonna be a problem. And because people just don't live well all crowded together. And have you thought about the rollers and stuff up in that area? I don't think you have. It's gonna be a congestion problem. When you increase the amount of residents per acre to that many, then you better go ahead and hire your law enforcement ahead of time, police and sheriff and all of that. And you hire a rescue because you're gonna need it. And so that's just gonna be a problem for people who own homes in that area. So I agree with Mr. Warren on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
He'll want to say something.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, Mr. Bowden?
I do.
All right, thank you.
I was kind of confused about where this project was actually located until Ms. Miser got up. I remember being at a zoning board meeting where she and some others expressed their opposition to it back when it was going through that process. And their concern at the time was the traffic and all of that. But it's also, if I'm not mistaken, it's kind of direct behind the property that, the church property.
Yes.
And I passed by the day of my brother back there walking his dog. So I think there should be some consideration given to what Mr. Warren said and what Ms. Mizell said in terms of the amount of people that's going to be put into that location. The building's already there. You know, if you put that many people there, it won't be Cedar Park in a repeated Cedar Park, but you're talking about the same kind of density and the same number of people going to be in the area. So it's going to be an influx of traffic, and it may or may not be crime, but statistics suggest that it may be an increase in crime because of the location that's being built there. So I think that I would express my concern and opposition and support of the opposition that's been offered by Ms. Mizell and it's Ms. Mizell and Ms. Perry.
Mizell Perry.
Mizell Perry to the project. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, I knew the area, and when I saw Miss Mizell here, I know what she was here for. I opposed it then, and I'm opposing it now.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Mr. Mayor, at this time, it would be appropriate for the applicant to respond to any presentations by the city or the interveners or members of the public. You also have the opportunity to cross-examine anyone who provided testimony.
Yeah, I would ask if any of the people who spoke today actually live within a quarter mile of the property, because I sent out 31 certified mail letters to the Planning and Zoning Board, meeting, informing them of the proposed rezoning as I was required to do. Not a single one of those individuals who were in the nearby area ever showed up. So the neighbors do not have a problem with this rezoning, or if they do, they decided not to show up. So I'd ask anyone who's given testimony today if they're actually close to this property, if this will affect them.
Thank you. At this time.
I do not live in the area, but my parents live right in that area.
Okay, if you could state your name for the record, please.
Barbara Mizell Perry.
All right, thank you.
It's also very wetland.
And per my text, I'm in contract with Richard Coles to purchase the piece on the corner right there. So I am a neighbor once we get to closing. And Richard's word has always been good with me. And my money's always been good with him. So I think we got a deal.
And for the record, you're Mr. Sylvester Ward.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Just, you don't have to be sworn in, just state your name for the record.
Glenn Albalda. It's true that I don't live in the neighborhood, but I am considered active. I know people who live in the neighborhood. My brother lived right in that neighborhood. In fact, today I went looking for him, and he's walking his dog down that street, that old street behind the church. So I'm very familiar with the area. So having to live there, it doesn't mean I don't have an interest in it. I can know people that live there, and it's just as important to me. And I understand that you mail out, but there are certain neighborhoods you mail out information to, you never get no response to. There are certain neighborhoods you mail out letters to, everybody will respond to. That's how the black community and low income community are taking advantage of. People see a piece of letter, man, I ain't thinking about that. They're gonna do what they want to do anyway. Well, that's where you all come in. People rely on you all to do the right thing. The citizens don't feel that they need to necessarily say the thing because you're supposed to have their back. So it's on you all to do what's right. Not the citizens that respond. My parents wouldn't respond to that. My dad died illiterate. My mom had a 9th grade education. She got a piece of mail. Bubba, come read this. If I wasn't available, she just put it in the trash. That's probably what happened to his mail. Went in the trash. They didn't read it. If they did, they'd be here then. Miss Mizell Perry here. I bet her parents don't want it built over there. And if she went around and knocked on doors, Mr. Hill, if I'm not suggesting you do that, you'll find there's a lot of people that don't want it. I suspect that the church don't want it. But so the idea that he can get a return from his mail, so what? That's what happened in certain neighborhoods.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. At this time, would the city wish to, through Mr. Young, wish to respond to any of the testimony?
Yes.
CPA 2305 has been reviewed by the city staff. The application was sufficient for review. After review of the petition, the city staff determined that the petition is consistent with the land development regulations and the comprehensive plan. The parcel is not contiguous with residential multifamily 2 zoning district. And at this time, the city has concerns of traffic on Early Street as this proposed project would add an additional 997.5 trips per day per the applicant's traffic analysis. Also, this property is not in a flood zone per FEMA, but per the National Wetland and Swanee River Water Management. Most of this property is located in a wooded, wetland.
Thank you, Mr. Young. At this time, do the city council members have any questions for the applicant? If so, if you could direct them through the mayor, please.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for Mr. Young. For clarification, this does create a zoning island?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
And if I can, just for procedural clarification, the issue before you right now is just the change to the future land use map, not the corresponding rezoning. That would be the next ordinance on the agenda.
Will I need to see any issues?
Right now, it's right for the council members to ask any questions if they would like.
I don't really have a question, but my concern is, a request of this magnitude with no presentation. I mean, a presentation should definitely, be placed here tonight to give us an idea of what you even have in mind.
If that's a question, you certainly can answer.
Yeah, I apologize. I had reviewed previous zoning proposals for the city and it didn't seem like there was a presentation. I guess I wasn't expecting this, although I definitely would have presented something. I did do a presentation to the zoning board. I apologize for that. I mean, if you want to table this at the next meeting, I will definitely give a presentation and address all the issues, because I can address even the islands. I've got a paper with me, but I'm fine tabling it to the next meeting, and I will have a presentation at that point.
And I'm not even saying table it, but just as you didn't know that you needed to display a presentation, and then that you made the statement that the residents, those who live in that area or close to that area, are not here. They didn't know they needed to be here. So you didn't know you needed a presentation. So I feel a certain kind of way for you saying that. In other words, they should have been here.
Well, I was required to send them certified mail letters letting them know about this, and so they're aware of this rezoning application.
I understand that.
Mr. Mayor, if there are no other questions from members of the council at this time, the applicant could give closing remarks followed by any party interveners and then city staff. So Mr. Winsberg, if you have any closing remarks.
Okay, yeah, sure. As far as wetlands are concerned, that is just a estimation of where wetlands might be. In order to actually determine whether wetlands are in the property, they would need a wetland specialist to go out there. I can tell you there are no wetlands. I understand, I'm just an engineer. You would maybe assess my judgment, but the wetland line is exactly in line with the old flood map. And the flood map has been changed because they realized that that's not where the flood map should be. The property is no longer in the flood map. The wetland maps just need to be updated. They're incorrect. I would agree if the wetland line is correct. I won't be able to build on there regardless of the zoning, because the city's LDR says you can't build within 35 feet of a wetland. So even if you approve this rezoning, if that wetland is correct, I won't be able to build there anyways. As you're aware, this is not an application to construct anything. This is just a rezoning application. As far as the parcels being an island, pretty much every RMF zone, RMF2 in the city is an island. And I've got printouts I can distribute showing every RMF2 zone in the city. I don't know if I'm allowed to present those or not. But yeah, if you're going to deny this because it's an island, there's absolutely no RMF2 zone other than one or two that would be currently allowed in the city, because every RMF2 zone is an island except for one or two of them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Winsberg. Did any of the party interveners have any additional comments or closing remarks?
Sworn in, it's right.
Just for the record, introduce yourself.
Sylvester Warren. And my closing comments, Mr. Mayor, and council members, Mr. Carter, you sat on the planning and zoning board. You understand the creation of islands. One of the places that islands have been created the most is in underserved and Black communities. It has been unfair. Not only have those communities been gerrymandered, those communities have been redlined, and developers such as this developer, other developers have taken advantage of those opportunities. And just because there are previous islands, don't mean those islands shouldn't be there. And there's no need of putting future islands where there shouldn't be. And I sat here and said that he cannot build 35 feet within the wetlands, and he come back and say the same thing. So he knows better. He's just trying to push the narrative and to see how much y'all read, how much y'all study, and how much y'all would go for it. Like the national map, how's the national map wrong? How's the national map that said this is a wetland is wrong? How's he challenging the national map? What evidence does he have, or what expertise does he have to challenge the national map? It says it's a wetland. He can't do the project anyhow. The project is dead in the water. The council just needs to vote no. The citizens don't want it. The traffic count is ridiculous for a road that needs to be repaved. And then McCray is not even a paved road. It's a grass road. It's grass. I mean, and then you're talking about the impact on public service, you're talking about ambulances, you're talking about law enforcement. You're gonna spend more money than we have on trying to provide service for the amount of people that live there than to actually build out this project and approve it. This project will cause a deficit for this city. If you look at the numbers, and as a matter of fact, I'm willing to say that he can't even produce a perform that some bank or any finance company will support it, because he can't even service the debt on where it's located at.
Area. And I also like to say the drainage has been a problem in that area for more than 40 years. If you haven't gotten it right up to now, you're going to create another problem on top of the problem that's already there, because all that water is going somewhere, and you already have issues that have been there that have not been corrected all this time. You also already have too much crime over in the area. And then you're going to put all of these people packed up on one area of land. Yes, it's going to be a disaster. Mr. Weinsberg may have been required to send out letters, but guess what? The people aren't required to respond to you. A lot of elderly people live in the area, and their educational level might not even be one where they could read and understand what the letter was saying. But that doesn't take away their rights as a citizen, because one citizen wants to do that. I would not think he'd build that property right next to his own home. I'm pretty sure that he wouldn't. And so I ask you to be concerned about the people who already live there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman, did you have any closing comments? No? Okay, thank you. At this time, city staff would be able to offer any closing comments.
The maps that Mr. Winberg was talking about was the 2009 FEMA map, which was updated in 2018, and it did take the property that he now owns out of the flood zone. But according to the National Wetland and the Swanee River Water Management, it still remains a wetland, even though it's not within a flood zone. There's a lot of wetlands that are not flood zones.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, council members, the decision of the council should be based only on the evidence presented by sworn witnesses, and in addition, the application may be adopted, or the ordinance may be adopted if it preserves the internal consistency of the city's comprehensive plan, complies with applicable state laws, and does not confer special privileges or rights on any person. At this time, the council may discuss the application, the testimony, and any findings of fact upon which the board wishes to base any decision, and vote on proposed ordinance number 2024-2260 following an appropriate motion and second. Should you wish to adopt the ordinance, the appropriate motion would be to adopt ordinance number 2024-2260 as read by title only.
Comment? I have a comment. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I heard Mr. Winberg say that he probably won't be able to do his project, but he want to get it rezoned. Why would we rezone it if you're not sure about your project? Everything need to be cut and dry before we get here talking about rezoning.
Mr. Mayor, as an amendment to the future land use, I think we have a planning and zoning board and staff and growth management that believe this is applicable. This isn't, to be clear, a site plan application or anything like that. It's just a amendment to the future land use, and in that regard, I move to approve City Ordinance 2024-2260 on first reading.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, if there's not a second, then the motion would die for lack of a second. And if, on the assumption that no one else supports it, the ordinance would not advance to second reading. It would fail. Procedurally also, Mr. Mayor, because the associated rezoning ordinance, which is 2024-2263, is contingent upon the adoption of this ordinance, there would be no need to proceed with the corresponding rezoning ordinance, which is the next item on the agenda.
Okay. All right, last time, is there a second? If not, then it fails for lack of a second. All right.
Mr. Mayor, for those who do not support this, what would be the basis? Ordinances for land use matters are a little bit quirky because if it's not going to pass, for those who are not in support, you would need to offer a basis for the failure of the ordinance. Like, for example, the evidence regarding environmental matters and wetlands, or traffic count numbers that were provided, and the like. And so, for the record, those should be offered for those who do not support the advancement of the ordinance.
I think the two that you just mentioned, my basis of traffic and the wetlands.
And I like to add the residents as well.
And then there was also evidence presented about that making this change in the future land use map would be the first step toward a possible spot zoning. Is that also information that was taken into account by the three board members who did not support the ordinance as well?
Yes.
Yep.
Ms. Young? Yes, okay, all right, thank you. And Mr. Mayor, the next item is impertinent at this point because this ordinance did not pass. So you would be on your agenda on, let's see, item 19. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Discussion, possible action, approval to use maximum 1.8 million ARPA funds for fire truck. Chief.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to give a brief presentation, and I will try to be quick. Once we get ready. All right, so obviously we're here to discuss our current ladder truck and possibly the replacement of it. The objectives we're going to go over tonight are the overview of our current ladder truck, discussion of new tower truck, and the sources of funding. Our current ladder truck is a 2006 E1, which was built in Ocala, Florida. The truck was actually built in 2005, but they put the stamp on it for 2006. This was a truck at the time that we could show up on the lot and see the truck, leave the truck, pick it out, and had numerous trucks to pick from. Those times are gone. We can't do that anymore. It's a minimum of 2 years to build a fire truck. So we're trying to get ahead of the game, and we are pretty far behind it. So got my cards mixed up here. So in the fire service, we have to plan for the what if. Kind of like wearing your seatbelt, putting your seatbelt on. You don't put your seatbelt on because you know you're going to get in a vehicle accident. You put your seatbelt on to prepare for the what if. In the fire service, we have to do that same thing. We have to prepare ahead of time. Let me ask you this. Do any of you invest your money? Usually when you invest, you look to someone or invest in something that is going to protect your assets to the best of their ability, correct? In my line of work, and hopefully most of you, I want to see the city grow. In order for the city to grow, we have to have investors. Those investors are going to look at this area and see if we protect their assets to the best of our ability. We have to prepare for the what if. Like I was saying before, Ladder 1 currently is a 2006 ladder truck. It was built in 2005. We picked it up at the local dealership in Ocala. And again, we can't do that anymore. A new truck takes 2 years to build at a minimum. The current truck is a 75-foot ladder. It is a 2,000 GPM pump, and that truck responds to all structure fires, all fire alarms, and all gas leaks, whether they're commercial or residential. It also is used for high-angle rescue. If we have somebody trapped on a building, we had not too long ago had a patient had a medical emergency on top of a high-rise building. We had to utilize the ladder truck to get them down. Our concerns. We have spent upwards of $45,000 in the past 5 years in maintenance alone on this truck. This truck is currently, and I know Mr. Hill is familiar with big trucks, it has air brakes. It's currently plugged in 24 hours a day to an air compressor. We have to do that because there's so many leaks in the system that if we didn't do that, when we start the truck up for the onboard compressor to charge the system, would take probably about 5 minutes to do. And in order to get that replaced, they would have to go through the entire truck, which would cost around $20,000 to $30,000 to repair. We just had if you look there, that's the nozzle for fighting fire right there on our current truck. The other day they were servicing the truck, extended the ladder out. That nozzle is controlled by electronics down at the control board at the turntable. When they extended the ladder out, that electric reel broke. So we called the service company to come up and service it, check it out. That's a $5,200 piece to replace. We have to have it or we can't fight fire with this truck. So it's little things that are continuing to happen with this truck. Benefits of an aerial truck. If you can, those two trucks, those are two separate trucks. This is 100-foot with a platform on it. This is our current truck, 75-foot, fully extended at the Holiday Inn. If you can see that little guy standing on the end of it, one of the things I'd like to point out is this one has a platform. And if you, family member, somebody was in this hotel or any building and we needed to rescue, the building was on fire, we needed to perform a rescue, you would have to climb out that window, step onto that ladder, and climb your way all the way down the ladder 75 feet. This newer truck that we were looking at would like to purchase has a platform. We would pull that platform up to the window, open the door, you step in it, and we would lower you to the ground. So it's a little bit safer. I know that a lot of people are afraid of heights, and that is a game changer. So another thing we have to look at is ISO. ISO comes in and figures out what our insurance rating is for everybody in the city and the county. Fortunately, the city of Lake City has an ISO rating of 4. That's on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 being the greatest, the best, and 10 being the worst. That truck carries the highest point value in any of the trucks that we have. We have actually had a ladder or an aerial truck in the city since I think 1968. When the VA hospital came. We had to purchase that truck. So we've had an aerial truck for a long time. Things are changing, things are evolving. The buildings, we are limited to the height right now. at a 75-foot ladder. If we go to a 100-foot ladder, we can build a taller building. But we also, that's fully extended on the left. Fully extended reaches the 6th floor. This one is not fully extended and is above the 6th floor where we can fight fire and things like that on a taller building. So some of the things we look at. We are constantly looking at ways to lower our ISO rating. The consolidation of dispatch that is taking place now will help lower our ISO rating, but that truck is the biggest point value in our department. So we need to have that truck. Again, it responds to all structure fires, fire alarms, gas leaks, and high angle rescues. Funding, kind of what we're here for. That's actually the original snorkel ladder aerial truck that we purchased for the VA hospital. So funding. I just want to be very clear. I am not here to ask to increase my budget. I am not here to ask to raise any taxes. I'm not here to ask for money from the general fund. My goal is to utilize federal funding as much as possible for any capital projects to reduce the burden on the citizens of our community. I can't tax the person being transported to the hospital from other communities. I can't tax the person traveling on our interstate, stopping at local restaurants and businesses, but I can utilize federal funding that each of those mentioned contribute in order to alleviate the burden on our local taxpayers. So I would like to request the use of some of the ARPA funds. And I'm asking for a 1.8 maximum. That's because the prices are changing so rapidly that I can't come to you right now and say I need 1.6 because it could change tomorrow. I don't know if you know, but the emissions are changing in 2026, which is going to increase the cost another $100,000. And some of the manufacturers are already doing that. They're already implementing that, so they're compliant by 2026. The ARPA funds were created during COVID for things like this. The federal government come up with a plan to help out local businesses, small businesses that couldn't operate during COVID. And they lost payroll, so they lost revenue. So they were able to apply for a grant. Local municipalities and cities and governments could not apply for those grants, so we were given funds. And the way they figured those funds was on first responders that had to work, and essential workers that had to work. So the government said, we're going to kind of reimburse you for some of these funds and give you these funds to rebuild. The ARPA stands for American Rescue Plan Act. So we want to be able to use those funds that you lost during COVID. So we're asking to use 1.8 maximum of the ARPA funds to help and purchase this new truck. I've been in contact with Mr. Johnson, Miss Angie, probably to the point where they're tired of seeing me. But I came up with a plan, a 5-year plan, where we will roll extra funds out of our budget every year. Those funds will go into an account that within 5 years, 5 to 6 years, I don't have to ask for funds anymore. I can utilize those funds to purchase a new truck within 5 to 6 years. And these funds will specifically go to replace a fire truck. That is my goal. I've been very aggressive since I've been in this position in searching out federal grant funds. Again, in order to alleviate the pressure and the cost for our local taxpayers. Some of these things are here. $38,000 we received in 2019 for replacement of our extrication equipment. That came from Firehouse Subs. $500,000 in 2021 went towards Fire Station 2. That was a state appropriation grant. $728 is federal grant money to hire 3 new personnel, 2022. $422,000 last year for appropriations, which is state money, to replace the air conditioner and generator at the public safety building. $208,000 this past year, federal grant money to replace our air packs. And we have applied this year for some more state funding to replace another fire truck and to remodel Station 1. These are just things that I'm trying to do to alleviate the pressure on the city itself. I will continue to do that. I will continue to search funds for any capital outlay project to eliminate the burden on our taxpayers. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Yeah, I got some questions.
Yes, sir.
Now, you said that it costs, $25,000 to fix air leaks?
No, $20,000 to $30,000 for them to go through that entire truck. Just because that's a custom-made truck, they would, everything, controls and everything are in the dash, and they would have to take all the air lines off, you know, that, in order. And that's my guesstimation, $20,000 to $30,000.
Well, for $40,000, you can fix that truck, and it'd be good for another couple of years.
That's one thing. I mean,
again, I'm not opposing.
Yes, sir.
I'm getting a new vehicle.
Yes, sir.
But how many miles on the truck?
Not honestly. I don't drive it very much, so you know how many miles are on it? Anybody? I'm not sure.
I'd say just under
70,000.
68,000.
Come on, I mean, that's no miles for that truck. That's not any miles. And the wear and tear on it, again, I don't know all the ins and outs about it, but no more that truck is being used, I know we can get 5 more years out of it.
So you can get 5 more out of it, and then you're gonna add 2 to it.
Well, again, y'all stand on top of the maintenance, not correct?
Way on top of it.
Okay.
For a 20-year truck, if you look at that truck, you'd never know it's 20 years old.
That's what I know. If it looks good, y'all taking care of it.
Right.
So, for way less than what you're asking for, y'all can fix that truck and have pretty much a brand new truck.
And that's a valid point. My point is that we have the money that is not taxpayer money. So if we get 5 more years out of it and we put $40,000, $45,000, $60,000 into it right now, in 5 years, I'm gonna be in front of you again saying, hey, but now I need city money. Now I need city funded money because we don't have ARPA funds anymore because they're gone in 2026.
But you're talking about putting money aside.
And I've got 4 trucks that need to be replaced now. That's why the one for $800 I'm trying to get the state to pay for, and then within 5 years that'll put me kind of 2 back in line. We should have been doing this. We should have been doing this every 5 years, replacing a truck.
Again, I agree with you but just looking at those trucks, they look to be in pretty good shape. Cause I thought they was newer than what they are.
And that's the pride we take in what we utilize.
So again, y'all taking pride in taking care of the city's property.
Correct.
So if you're taking pride in taking care of the city property, I think you'll get a little bit more out of it.
Your last inspection, where did you fail in the last inspection? And when was the last inspection and who performed it?
On the truck itself?
Yeah.
So the truck necessarily is not inspected as far as an inspector coming in, other than the ladder itself. The ladder has to pass inspection every year. And the pump in order has to flow so much water for a certain amount of minutes. So there's not really an inspector that comes in. We operate a little bit different than a regular truck on the road. They can pull that, anybody's truck over and do an inspection on it and start failing it. We kind of maintain it as much as we can ourselves. And again, we take pride in our trucks. Mr. Hill is correct. I mean, we are operating off of taxpayers' money, and we want those trucks to be able to eat off of.
I realize that, but are you certified to actually shake that truck to make sure that everything is?
So we have a current position in the fire department called driver engineer. They have to be state certified to operate those trucks. So that is their job. They're responsible. If they're in a vehicle accident, they can be pinned themselves. So absolutely, the training that they go through is.
So if he stood at that podium right now, what issues would he tell us that truck has? What issues?
I can let one come up here if you want me to.
Mayor.
Sure.
Matt?
Slot. Matt Herman, driver engineer at Lake City Fire Department, since 2018 is when I got promoted to driver engineer. With the current ladder truck, I know y'all talking about miles or low miles, 68,000 miles on it. For a fire truck, that is quite a bit of miles. Wear and tear, you're not turning down every road, bearings, everything else. Not only that, but it sits on fires for how long? Average fires, 2-3 hours long. So it's not so much the miles that you're putting on a truck, it's also the hours that you're putting on a truck. I believe the turbos got replaced a couple years ago. I think that was $15,000 a piece. And obviously a big rig or something like that goes 150,000 miles without having a turbo replaced. So it's with that truck, a lot of things go off on it. Sensors constantly need to be replaced. Anytime you put the outriggers out, there's some of them we actually have to reach up to an emergency bypass on it to get the outrigger to come down. And it's not that's a bad truck, bad built truck. It's just that it does have gotten wear and tear over the last 2005. We keep up with it the best we can. It has served a good purpose. Another couple of things, again, what he was talking about, there's a cord reel on it. It's $5,500 just to replace the cord reel on it. The monitors and everything else in it is outdated, 2005. And the fire service is, the technology is like blowed up. I mean, when it comes to the inside of the truck, from dials to hydraulics, everything else. And as the truck gets older, seals are gonna bust. We just had the cab seal on it just got replaced because we were trying to lift it, do our maintenance on it. Oil leak, ended up having to get a truck to come lift it up so that we could actually get it sent off, the hydraulics get sent off. So unfortunately, it is aging. And again, I'm kind of pulling this off the top of my head because 30 seconds ago I was sitting there comfortable. We can we start having issues with cab lights. We start having issues with that truck has sensors on it, on top of sensors. So if for one reason the cab door doesn't close, then we got a red light that just blinks at us all the time.
Or it won't let something else work.
Yes.
So one sensor doesn't let something else work, and then 20 years, you're looking for used parts or remanufactured parts. It's not that you can just order a part and get these parts. So did that answer your question? He's nervous as a jack.
Yeah, that's
Just don't be nervous, just calm down. One more question. You being certified, and if I ask you the question, what would you say the life expectancy is as of now with the issues that you say that we have with that truck now? What life expectancy would you give?
It's at its life expectancy. That's what one of the things said is what we don't want to have. This goes to calls that we expect it to work. We expect it to do what it's supposed to do. It's we treat these trucks as they call it an appendage of ourselves. So it means that we don't think about it when we get on a call. We just do it. So it means like I know exactly where a piece of equipment is at that truck. I go to it. I find it. I do it. We expect those trucks to function properly on a fire scene because that you're talking about. Within 2 minutes of fire, it progresses to 30% from what it started from within 3 minutes. The last thing we want to do is show up with a truck that's not working properly and have an issue with, okay, well now this truck isn't working, now we have to change games. That's another 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes lost that we could be doing something life-saving in that issue. And we don't want to start relying on something that we're having to turn around and fix every 2 or 3 months. Because yes, we'll fix air leaks today, tomorrow one of the pistons on the hydraulics bust out, then we're out of service, then the truck's out of service. Then what do? We don't have a backup, so we just let it sit out of service and get fixed. I believe when the turbos went out, it was out of service for like 2 months. So, and I believe you can only have a truck out of service for so long before it gets hit on your ISO rating. So, I'll answer any other questions. It's at its life expectancy. If y'all want to, we can walk over there one day and we can show you kind of the things, itemize them, and show you. But what we don't want to happen is show up on a call and that fail.
Especially if you knew that it was broken.
Or knew that you were having issues over and over.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I would just like to address yourself and the rest of the council. This has been, coming for a little while now. I've had a bit of time to do a bit of reading on this myself independently. I think if you do any reading on this, I've read quite a bit about it. 18 to 20 years is the expected life expectancy of a truck that's well maintained. The price that they're looking at is expected to increase quite a lot in the next couple of years. The price that they're looking at is also, I say, on the mid to low end of what is normal for this sort of truck. It's very expensive, but I would say that cities have to buy fire trucks. And also, last week I went over there and was given the up and down. I went and took a look at it. I saw our main fire truck in Lake City has an air compressor attached to it just to make sure the brakes work when they need them. I think that we'd be missing out on a significant opportunity to use federal funds instead of Lake City taxpayer dollars to buy this truck that we're going to need to buy anyway. Especially, I don't know if anyone noticed, but I gather from the time we decide to buy it, it's gonna be 2 years before we get another truck. So in the next 2 years, I think we can expect to be spending a lot more on maintenance for this truck while it gets us to the next truck. I think it would be a bad idea to wait in 2 years and then do this and potentially not have the funds to do it.
Okay. Chief, you have anything else?
Yeah, I got some. They said with the air compressor hook, air stops that vehicle. And you saying having an air compressor hooked to it? I don't buy that.
I can explain that. So in order for that truck to move, it has to be at a minimum, say 20 PSI.
At least 50.
Okay, whatever the minimum is, it has to be there. If it won't hold air, it drops below that. So the truck won't move. We start it up and the onboard compressor will charge it up, but it takes about 5 minutes to charge that up. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So the air compressor plugged into it, the air compressor keeps it at the 50 pounds. So it's ready to go as soon as we jump into it.
But in those $45,000 worth of maintenance, y'all can't get these air leaks stopped?
I have to send that truck to Ocala for them to take the whole truck apart. And then it's down again at I don't know how many weeks. But again, when the truck is not here, then we lose credit for it. We don't have it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Warren, Mr. Bowden.
Mr. Mayor, Robert's rules, this is a very, serious conversation. We're talking about $1.8 million of opera money. As the chair, you allowed to extend, me a few minutes if it's your pleasure. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, first, look, let's just call it what it is, right? The problem with the fire truck and the fire department is twofold. One, they don't have any funding for a fire truck because they plan to fail. They failed not to plan. That's number one. Number two, this city had an opportunity to get a free fire department from the county right next to the fairground. Wasn't pretty enough for some people. So y'all wanted a new fire department. Now y'all want a new toy. It's like you buy a new house, now you want a new vehicle. I've never seen, I want to pull back up picture, that apparatus picture, I think it was of the area view. I don't see those trucks side by side. And so I know for a fact there's a builder, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Young, if he's still in the building, you can't build higher than 72 feet. And the truck ladder extends 75 foot. So I did my research too, Mr. Carter. And in my research, I found out that there's no such thing as a life expectancy of a fire truck. That's just some like in-house label jargon amongst fire departments. Am I right or wrong? Is that there's no law, there's nothing written that says that a fire truck goes out of service in 20 years, right? Because if that was the case, semi-trucks wouldn't even be on the road past 20 years. You got semi-trucks older than that. 3 of my brothers CDL drivers, and let me tell you about brand new trucks. My brother just paid $150,000 for a brand new truck. The second day he had it was in the shop. So new trucks break too. I want to point that out. So if we can't build higher than 72 feet, we have a 75-foot truck ladder. I can't find any purpose that a 100-foot truck ladder, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, man, you talked about this truck will be the biggest truck that they make in the United States of America, right? Because anywhere else, they don't have a truck this big. This is the biggest truck they make in America. And we're gonna have the biggest truck they make in America for 2 facilities. ACH, which is the hospital, that reported a net profit of $60.2 billion with the B, right? Where's their contribution to the fire truck? They need it. I don't know nothing in my community that's higher than 12 feet tall. I don't know nothing in any residential community that's taller than 12 foot tall. So who are the community that you're referring to who need a 100-foot truck ladder? I would say it would be the hospitality community, which are the hotels, and which also are the hospital. Nobody else would need a fire truck that tall. Where's their contribution? I told y'all this would happen. I told y'all, Mel, when y'all were doing the fire assessment, to put a special taxing district on West 90 for the same reason. And to pull money out of the ARPA funds is wrong, Mel. If you go back and check the records, I'm the reason we got the ARPA funds. Each one of y'all got a text message, and it was me that spoke to Mayor Wilson down in Belglades and told you, Donna Duncan and Amy Fields at the time, that y'all had $6 million y'all don't even know y'all had. Then Miss Donna Duncan at the time didn't even know how to access the money. Y'all had to call me, I had to call back down south and get y'all telephone numbers to Tallahassee to release the money because y'all didn't even know how to go in the computer system and ask for it and request it. Then y'all started spending money out of it, and this board voted to spend no more ARPA money until we had a workshop and decide as a community how we're gonna spend ARPA money moving forward, Mel. That is a fact. And I have evidence to prove it. I text you, I text Jake, I text Javela, and I emailed you. The record is clear. It was in 2021 when this money came, and this money was not allotted for fire trucks. Now this money has been washed, and you can use it for that, but that is not what it was designed for. And if we gotta bring the federal government in about this, we will. Because I'm telling you right now, if you spend $1.8 million on the fire truck, let's go ahead and break the ARPA bank. I want $1.8 million spent in the black community. I want affordable housing. I want youth and rec programs. And I also want to see something for the seniors. And I want to see, what was the other program that I think that this, and why they ain't applying for grants, Mayor? That's another thing. Every time we want something in the black community, we gotta apply for grants. And what about our road infrastructure? We want road infrastructure in the black community. You tell us to apply for grants. But you gonna just dip in the money for a fire truck? That really don't need any work. Nobody said nothing is wrong with the fire truck other than some air leaks. And anybody that drives a semi truck are used to air leaks. You fix them. You maintain them. They look nice. There's no life expectancy on a fire truck. So that 18, 20 year stuff, that's just some man-made jargon within the fire department. It's not real. And Mayor, I ask that this council do not make a $1.8 million expenditure out of the ARPA money unless it is willing to also make a $1.8 million to an underserved community that needs affordable housing, that needs youth recreation programs, and that needs road infrastructure. Remember, we're the only town that does not have a youth recreation department. Period. No kid. If you had a kid right now today, he has nowhere to go. She has nothing to do, nothing to play. And you're gonna prioritize this over 2 places, the Patels and ACH, who are billionaires? You can steal $1.8 million out of $60.2 billion, and they'll never know what's missing. Why they ain't contributing? They need it more than anybody else. So I say we table this issue, go around and tell them folks out there on 90 to contribute to a fire truck. They're the ones who need it. Just like they did the bed tax for the TDC. They're the ones who need it, Mayor. It's wrong. If y'all do this right here, I'm telling you, you send a bad president, and I'm telling you that we open the ARPA money up for everybody else and their mama to come up here and ask for it. Because, Mayor, and I told you, and you said that you were gonna follow the rules. You know we blocked off this ARPA money. When Todd Sampson was spending this money, we voted to block off the ARPA money. If you need to table it and come back and go and have your clerk to research it, we table the ARPA money.
Okay, well, let Mr. Bowden speak. Mr. Bowden?
Mr. Mayor, Council, Glenn Bowden again. I have not done the kind of research Mr. Warren did, so I don't have all those kind of facts. I guess my concern is this, Mr. Mayor, is that if we start going into the ARPA money, and I guess I don't begrudge the fire chief for trying to get 1.8 million to get a fire truck. That's his job. He's supposed to do that. What I'm concerned about, this council and this administration is not looking at the whole picture. You know, as Mr. Warren suggested, there's no need for a ladder truck nor for the railroad track. There's a need for a ladder truck nowhere except for at the interstate and the hospital. You know, and so I'm concerned about that. I'm also concerned that that there's nobody in the administration looking at how we can use the ARPA money going forward. From what I can tell, there's nothing on the book. Had the chief not come up and asked for the money to be spent on the fire truck, then the money still be sitting there. So I would encourage you, Mr. Mayor, and the council members to start looking at the rest of the money and see how you're going to spend that going forward. As I suggested earlier about using some of that money to do Camp Street. The interim city manager said, well, you know, we got to do some infrastructure. Well, do the infrastructure design. I mean, if it's possible. You know, I think as a citizen, someone need to explain to us how much money is left in the fund and what it can be used for. You know,
$4.2 million, and I've already asked.
Okay,
sorry.
$4.2 million left in the ARPA fund. So what we're going to do with that money going forward? Is any of that money going to be spent in the area that's underserved, been neglected, been forgotten about? Or are we just going to spend the money in the area where there's perceived need, that the growth of the city is going to take place? I want to say this too about tax bill. Let's not forget that we pay federal tax too. So we contribute to that $1.8 million. Yes, it's not city tax, it's not county tax, it's not state tax, it's federal tax that we contribute to. You know, we contribute to it just like anybody else. And so it's not like it's free money. It's not free money. It's taxpayers' money that we contribute to. And the fact that you're going to take care of the taxpayers, well, in my side of town, where I live at, there's a lot of rental property. And it's not, the tax property is not that high. So, but they deserve the same kind of attention as someone who's paying high taxes. We deserve the same kind of attention on the north side of town that they deserve out there where the hotels being built. You know, I don't have no problem with providing fire protection, but to suggest that this is the most important expenditure of that money right now, I think it's ludicrous and not fair. I think that there should be some attention given to the least serving our community, who gonna benefit from it. And I think that if you can get another 5 years out of this fire truck, then figure out some other way to fund it, rather than using the ARPA money for it. You know, it's not like, oh, we got a gift here, just spend it. Well, if you're gonna spend it like that, then look how you're gonna spend it north of the railroad track in an area that I grew up in and live in, where you got streets now that's collapsing. One in particular, Gurley, right now, you drive down Gurley Street is worse than Camp would ever be. And it dips and holes, all of that. So let's get some attention given to that, and perhaps we never need to wait until we get a city manager. Because we talk about in another few months and talk to this city manager about how we're going to use the ARPA money going forward. Because I think this is a mistake. I don't support it, and I think that we can live with this fire truck for another 5 years without a problem.
This is a big item. It's an important item because we have to give them their fire assessment, which people think is high. We had to raise it this year, so we got to be very careful with this. My recommendation right now is, one, I'd like to see 5 people vote rather than 4. And let's get to a 2-2. So my recommendation would be to table it to the next meeting, let's do a little bit on the background on it. Yeah.
If I may say, Mayor, I agree that we table it, but I do believe that we really need to take this very serious, because none of us really know what will happen with that fire truck.
Right.
And Lord forbid if we, be more concerned about the money than the issue at hand, and we get caught in a dilemma, something drastic happens, and and we can't change it. So we really need to take this serious and, think about everybody. Think about everybody, and this is a great concern, that the protection of our community, our people, in the entire Lake City. So I would say let's table this, and, we just gotta look around and see monies. I don't know where the money will come from, but I will say, here we are again in a bad predicament because of poor planning, not poor planning, no planning. And now we say a roll fund, and there should have been a roll fund years now. And I know we hadn't just got in a place where these issues has come up with this fire truck. These issues was there, I'm sure, a couple of years ago. And now we're here, our back against the wall, and we have got to get out of that space. But I make a motion that we pass this. I don't know if it'll be to the next meeting. Pass it to the next meeting.
Any further discussion?
I would just like to point out, in addition to everything else I said before, I think it's kind of odd, some people's perspective, that the hospital isn't part of the community, or I think the only hospital any of us can go to if something suddenly happens to us that's relevant. Also, the commercial district where the hotels are, again, is part of Lake City. So the idea that it shouldn't matter is frankly absurd. That's all.
Sorry, you brought it up.
The motion is to table it into the next meeting, Ms. Young? Okay. Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Mayor Witt?
Okay, thank you. Now, we'll go to item 12. Mr. Brown? Thank you, Mayor Council.
This is a simple request to reclassify a position. This has no budget issues, no impacts to our budget. What got us in this position is understaffing at the prisons. They no longer allow to send an officer out with these work squads, even if we're paying. So what we've done in-house in order to keep the work squad moving is we had an employee on our right-of-way crew that actually stepped up and went and took the credentials. That employee, through the process of promoting within, promoted up to a supervisor position. And we had another employee that requested to go get the credentials, which he's done. But because we didn't have a job description for this, due to the fact that prisons has always supplied an officer, we actually created a job description for that position, and we just need approval to move this employee into that position. The employee is currently doing the work, so there will be no impact in the actual field. It's just a title change from HR standpoint.
Anybody got any questions? Okay, Mr. Warren, you want to speak?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor, for recognizing me. First, I want to say, Mr. Mayor, I think it's absurd when affordable housing workshop got moved for decorum. I think it's absurd when a city council don't have any place for kids to have youth recreation, and we have crime violence. I think that is absurd that you have council members that's not concerned about cameras at the Annie Maddox Park. I think it's absurd about a lot of things that this council have not planned to do. So about it being one hospital doesn't speak for everybody. I'm sorry, Mayor, but I wanted to address the absurdity because there's a lot of absurdity going on the council. So don't act like it's just the public. Mr. Mayor, on item number 20, if it's not going to impact the budget, like Mr. Brown said, I think it's very critical that we do everything we can to keep inmate labeled. It keeps the budget costs down. It keeps the inmates with something to do. It also affords them opportunity to be in the public, gives them opportunity to learn some skills. What's unfortunate is that this council is so absurd that they have not changed and updated their hiring policies so that when those people what we call EOS, when them people that ain't never been in prison, that's called in the sentence. So when they EOS from that program that Mr. Brown got, y'all can't even hire them. Some of the best workers, am I lying, Mr. Brown? Some of the best workers, y'all can't even hire them because y'all policies are so dated that the county hire convicted felons, the VA hire convicted felons. Why y'all don't hire convicted felons? What's y'all problem? What do y'all have against hiring convicted felons? I know, you crickets. 1.8 million fire truck, y'all all on top of the building. When it comes to making something better for the average people and people who need help the most, y'all ain't got nothing to say. Why y'all don't hire convicted felons? These jobs wouldn't be where they at. We wouldn't have an employee issue. The new work labor force is convicted felons. I don't care what you say. You ain't got a shortage of labor. You got a shortage of not having common sense to know where your labor force is at. That's the absurdity of some of the people who sit on this board. Why have we not made an emergency item? I don't want to hear about my 3 minutes. Why have we not made an emergency item, Mayor, that we put on the agenda to change the policy of hiring people to hire convicted felons? That's the emergency. Convicted felons need a job. Or they're gonna be a part of the recidivism rate. You see, that crime don't happen in a lot of other people's community, but it happened in mine. I prefer them to get a job. But guess what? They can't work for the city. There's a lot of people that's willing to do it. And y'all got 401k programs and insurance. Why do y'all not hire convicted felons? Can somebody answer that absurdity?
Okay.
Is that not absurd?
All right, thank you. Council, what's your pleasure?
I was just gonna make I was gonna move to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Ms. Young, did you want to say something?
I was gonna make the motion, that's fine.
Okay. Any comments, council? All right.
One comment. Concerning the tour, the one council member.
Well, we're doing this motion now. I'm sorry, I said comments.
Oh, yeah, I thought you did, okay.
I'm sorry, that was my fault. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Mr. Hill? Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whitney?
Yeah. Okay, Ms. Young, we have comments, council.
Concerning the tour for the city manager applicants. The one council person who is touring the applicants. Can we just offer the Chamber of Commerce? Can we just offer them to tour along? Would that be is that okay with the council?
But if you do the Chamber of Commerce, what about over across the track?
What do you mean?
Do they know where to go at the blighted areas, bad areas across the track?
Well, I'm not saying eliminate Mr. Journey.
Add to
Mr. Journey.
I think you don't know where to go across the track.
I'll make a motion if that's in order.
I think we'd have to bring it up at the next meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
And and that'll be, what, the 15th? So that'll be before that.
Okay. So what's it?
Any other comments?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, I have just a couple quick things I'd like to mention. Like I did in our last meeting, I intend to meet at some point each department head in the city and as much of the staff as possible, just to get to know them. These are the people most affected by our decisions on the day-to-day level. The things that we do here directly result in work for them. As I did with the water treatment at the last meeting, I'd like to recognize I had an opportunity to meet with Chief Wanger, I'm saying it right now. Toured both fire departments, got to look at that truck, and got to meet a lot of the staff at the fire department, and I'd like to recognize them if I could. So of course, Chief Wanger, Josh Wanger. And if I get some of the ranks incorrect or don't name them, I apologize. I have a Lieutenant Robert Obilar, or Obiar, Greg Sund, and Lieutenant Adam Brannon. And then I have Daniel Dorn, Adam Lockwood, Elliot Reddish, Michael Kirkman, Chad Reed, Pedro Ogilvie, Matthew Herndon, Chris Bethia, Kyle Rodriguez, Trent Kreinhetter, thank you. Hunter Anderson, Granby Croft, James Lumpardis, AJ Parnell, Josh Morris, Dustin Alford, John Howard, Chance Spivey, Christina Munro, Ben Kirkendall, Ryan Casey, Levi Register, Brianne Lawson, and then I'm told Miss Jeanette O'Connell in administration keeps all those fellas and ladies straight. And again, I'd like to remember Assistant Chief Dwight Boozer. My desire to do this is because obviously we get to deal with a lot of things here, pleasant and unpleasant, more often than not unpleasant. And I just think it's important to remember we got a lot of good, hardworking people in the city, and there are good things going on. One last comment as well, is thanking the fire department. Just think that downtown, the Lake City Garden Club is doing a really nice job keeping up all of our flower pots and stuff. I walk around downtown a lot. I do a lot of business with businesses downtown, and I appreciate them.
Thanks. Good adjournment.
Mr. Adjourn.
All right, we're adjourned.